Everybody, if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button. And I think there's a bell there too. Ring that for more YouTube content. The first televised interview Donald Trump, our Lord and Savior, has given since he got absolutely owned, blown to smithereens, blown his back blown out, ever since an old geriatric corpse from his basement being absolutely carried by mainstream media destroyed the savior of rural white voters, Donald J. Trump himself.
You just take a look at just about every state that we're talking about, every swing state that we're talking about, and they did these massive dumps of votes, and all of a sudden I went from winning by a lot to losing by a little. They did tens of thousands of Biden votes. And all of a sudden, I went from, and I could tell you the people that were calling me, congratulating me, are people that you know very well, friends of your show.
Yeah, idiots. Like, those are stupid people. Stupid people who were, I guess, deluded by you duping yourself. At this point, I don't know if Trump knows the reality or he has deluded himself into believing his own lies. Like, he set it up, and the Republican Party set it up so that there would be this sort of discrepancy and there would be this sort of confusion, right? It almost feels like Donald Trump himself now believes the lies, which is what a good con man does, by the way. Because if you believe your own lies, then are you lying? If you believe the lies that you espouse to be the truth, then you're not really lying. You're just misinformed, especially if you're a confident person on top of everything else. And that's why, like, delusional people are very good at this sort of rhetoric. If you're a confident person, you can just continue on that same track.
The media doesn't even want to cover it. I mean, you're doing something. You're actually very brave because you're doing something. The media doesn't want to talk about it. They know how fraudulent this is. It's no different than Hunter. It's no different than Hunter. They don't want to talk about Hunter. So they totally closed it off, big tech and the media, other than the New York Post.
If the Hunter Biden story was so hot, why did Donald Trump not bring it up in the second debate? Donald Trump had every opportunity to bring it up. Why was he the one who abstained from bringing up the Hunter Biden story? Oh, because he knew that it was fucking bullshit. He didn't. It was Joe Biden who brought up Hunter Biden in the second debate. He was the one who brought up Hunter Biden in the first one. Noticed that it didn't actually work and it backfired. It was Joe Biden who brought up Hunter Biden in the second debate. Yeah, he talks about how he called Bo a sucker, then Trump brought up Hunter, I believe. Nope, that was the first debate. The first debate was when Donald Trump brought up Hunter Biden.
The mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true. Let him answer.
The second debate, Donald Trump did not bring up Hunter Biden. If you were paying close attention, it was Joe Biden who brought up Hunter Biden.
My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He was not a loser. He was a patriot.
Talking about Hunter? Are you talking about Hunter?
I'm talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter got thrown out of the military.
You know why? I know why. I'm telling you. Because his advisors were like, oh, this Hunter Biden shit's not working. Like, no one cares. Absolutely no one cares. Stick to the issues. Stick to the economy. Do not stick to Hunter Biden. Nobody cares. And nobody did care. Even his own fan base was not motivated enough by it because they, for some weird reason, decided to look at the Clinton camp and the Democrats and learn the absolute worst lessons for them for some reason. Democrats are perpetual losers, and yet the Trump camp tried to do the exact same thing that the Democrats did and tie this into like a big confusing narrative about Russia or Ukraine or even China. But the problem is, and this actually is less a testament to Trump's brilliance and more so a proof, I would say, that Trump kind of lucked out in the 2016 cycle, that they were just basically doing the exact same thing that they did in 2016 as well against Hillary Clinton. Said Hillary Clinton is corrupt. Look at all of Hillary Clinton's dealings with Saudi Arabia and all these other things. Back then, it was successful because there was already a 30-year project to disparage the Clintons, some for good reasons, others for psychotic conspiracies. Some of those conspiracies are true, and then others of those other conspiracies are ridiculous, like Hillary Clinton does not, suckle on the spinal fluid of babies and stuff. But this already had existed in American culture for so long. There was a cottage industry of anti-Clinton thought. It was very easy for Trump to capitalize on that and say things that another opponent would not say, but simply allude to. Donald Trump lowered the barrier for the dog whistles, maybe substitute dog whistle for a bullhorn, but it was still coded in some ways. That's why it worked against Hillary Clinton, and I kept telling you it's not going to work against the Bidens because there is no pre-existing like Biden crime family narrative out there.
And they cheated. Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes. Now we were.
I love that he can't believe that.
Won quite handily. We did very well. I got 63. We were hoping to get 68 or so, and we felt that was a path to an.
Like I totally understand why he could. He can't bring himself to believe that Joe Biden secured 80 million votes. Like, I totally understand why he thinks that way. Because he's a narcissist. So in his worldview and in his followers' worldview, of course, it's like, what? This guy fucking won 80 million votes? Because they don't see Trump as the primary motivating factor for why so many people turned out. Obviously, the other part of it is mail-in ballots and universal mail-in ballots and early voting and like ease of access to go out and vote. For these people, it is impossible for them to comprehend Trump as such a deep-seated, deep-rooted evil that like people would literally go out and vote against Donald Trump. But if you understand that Donald Trump's a piece of shit, then of course you're like, yeah, no, I get why 80 million people voted. I get it. I mean, I hate Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden sucks. Joe Biden has been a horrible person throughout his political career. And yet I still fucking voted for him. I voted for him in California. I didn't need to fucking vote for Joe Biden in California. He's not going to lose California. I did it because that's how much I fucking despise Donald Trump. It felt good. It felt nice. I pictured all of the delusional Trump psychos who are losing their minds right now. I pictured all of these images in my head. And I told you guys this too. While I was fucking circling that bubble, I was picturing every single thing that we have been watching and basically masturbating to for the past month or so now. Like, that's why I did it. And it felt fucking great. Now it feels kind of shitty. It's like, you know, I jerked off to something weird. And after the inevitable release, I'm like, this doesn't feel as good. But at the time, I did it for hedonistic pleasure.
So much more, many millions of more than anyone thought, than we were even trying to get. Everybody said, this is over. I'm telling you, at 10 o'clock, everybody thought it was over. And then the phony mail-ins started coming in, Maria. But just so you understand, I got 74 million votes. It was over. And then mail-ins started happening. Glitches started happening.
But he didn't have 74 million votes at night. Not only is he refusing to admit how like mail-in ballots work directly as a consequence of his administration and the Republican Party's actions in like hindering the process and not allowing states to literally count votes like Florida did immediately as they came in and then only releasing it on the day of the election. But also now he's saying 74 million people voted for me the day of the election, which is just not true. Those votes were not counted for him. Of course, there were plenty of votes that came in after. I think it was like 60 something for both. There was no point in time when Donald Trump had more of the popular vote than Joe Biden did. Throughout the night and throughout the day. I think that like the only time was in Florida when only like Florida was counted and like Kentucky was being counted and shit. But like outside of that, in the end of the night, Joe Biden still had more votes than Donald Trump.
Elections are the reason that our young men and women go on battlefields across the world and in some cases lose their lives. Because
what? I mean, wait, what? Okay, wait.
They believe that their vote, my vote, matters just as much as your vote. And if that is not true, this is a very serious turning point for America. So this is no longer about you, President Trump. This is about America.
First of all, this is so disgusting because black people literally fought in wars before they could vote. So that's disgusting and ridiculous and ahistorical and beyond that. The entire Republican strategy before Donald Trump and even with Donald Trump was about undermining black and brown and poor votes, like poor white people. Donald Trump changed that a little bit, changed the game a little bit, but like the entirety of the Republican strategy revolves around literally weighing votes more aggressively in favor of wealthier areas and also land, and systemically disenfranchising black, brown people, poor people from being able to vote. So silly as fuck, especially because those are the people that then go and fight the battles that they didn't vote for. Those are the people that go and die in those endless imperialist bloodshed, specifically so that the very same people that make sure that their votes aren't counted are making more money. So incredible stuff.
We have so much evidence. You probably saw on Wednesday of last week, we had a hearing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It was an incredible hearing, unbelievable witnesses, highly respected people that were truly aggrieved. A woman came in, she wanted to vote, and they said, no, I'm sorry, you can't vote. You've already voted. Your ballot's in. She said, no, I want to vote on November 3rd. I've been waiting for so long to vote. I'm so proud. I want to vote. They said, your ballot's in. I'm sorry. And that was the story, and she was aggrieved. And you have many people.
That was the story of a lady, of a woman who wanted to vote for me. Easy question here is, how do they know she was a Trump supporter? How would they have known she was a Trump supporter? You don't know. You're just making it up.
That they panicked, and they started just doing ballot after ballot very quickly and just checking the Biden name on top. They didn't have time. So you have all these ballots with just one name check. People don't vote that way. People don't vote that way. They want to vote against taxes, and they want to vote for judges, and they want to vote for a lot of other things that you have on a ballot, different races. Tremendous numbers of ballots like that. And that was done for the sake of speed. We have stories that are unbelievable, but we're not allowed to put in our proof. They say you don't have standing.
Also, the funniest part about this, and I mentioned this before, is that Donald Trump is basically saying every single thing that his legal team has said, except he fired the person or pushed away the person that was supposed to be part of his legal team, Sidney Powell, when she went balls to the wall crazy, goo goo gaga crazy, when she started talking about fucking, Hugo Chavez and Dominion. While they put distance between themselves, the Trump campaign put distance between themselves and Sidney Powell, he's still going along with what Sidney Powell was saying without, really expanding on it further, or without mentioning Hugo Chavez, for example.
We have hundreds and hundreds of affidavits, like the people that you saw the other day in Pennsylvania, willing to sign under penalty of perjury. You go to jail. Willing to sign. Unlike Comey, who didn't go to jail for lying, by the way, and McCabe, who didn't go to jail for lying.
Who else didn't go to jail for lying? Donald Trump recently pardoned this person. Michael motherfucking Flynn. Incredible stuff for him, like talking about perjury. It's this gross situation where people are not going to jail for lying. He literally pardoned Michael Flynn.
We have hundreds, getting to be thousands. They're coming in all the time. And these are respected people. These are people that are putting their lives at risk. And they don't want to take the affidavits. Then they say we don't have proof.
So an affidavit is a sworn testimony, basically, under the court of law or notarized. So technically, yes, you can be charged with perjury for lying on that sworn testimony, but you can also, of course, turn around and you can unswear it and say, "Oh yeah, I was wrong. Sorry, I no longer want to advocate for this." Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because nearly all of the affidavits that have been utilized as evidence in the court of law so far, including one of the more famous ones where a postal service whistleblower claimed that they were like doing some fuckery, or he observed some fuckery. This was the Project Veritas guy, whistleblower. He said he retracted his affidavit. He said he was lying. Once again, though, you have to remind yourself, because it is hard to remember, but
they all,
and it feels ridiculous, but a lot of these judges are either directly appointed by Donald Trump under the Trump administration, or even ones who are appointed by Barack Obama under the Obama administration are still Federalist Society judges, because Obama was a tepid neoliberal centrist who, of course, caved to Republicans because he was just like, we need to have judges. I'll give you what you want. And Republicans will try to lie to you and say, well, this was an Obama judge. It's like, yeah, no, that's a Republican Federalist Society judge that Obama appointed because he's a pussy. You can't say that that's like a partisan judge that favors Obama. That's a partisan judge that favors Donald Trump. You just don't have a fucking case.
And they had judges making deals, and they had electoral officials making deals, like this character in Georgia who's a disaster, and the governor's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing. I'm ashamed that I endorsed him. But I look at what's going on. It's so terrible.
Again, the hilarity here is that he's mad at Brian Kemp for not doing enough voter fraud. He's mad at the Secretary of State, the Republican Secretary of State that took over Brian Kemp when Brian Kemp became governor, because they didn't do enough voter fraud. And after they didn't do enough voter fraud, or not voter fraud, sorry, vote suppression. Why do I keep saying voter fraud? They didn't do enough electoral fraud. They didn't do enough voter suppression. And then afterwards, they were like, why are you not allowed? Like, why are you counting votes? Like, the fuck is wrong with you?
And by the way, he didn't beat Obama in the black communities.
No, he did. He did, brother, man. Sucks to admit. I know. If I got owned by someone who will like definitely pass in like the next couple of years, probably won't see the end of his presidency, I would also lose my shit. Like, I mean, you know what? Actually, I'll admit, I saw this happen. I saw this happen in the primaries where Joe Biden didn't even campaign. I watched it happen as every single fucking unifying power within the Democratic Party got together like some fucking neoliberal Avengers to own Bernie Sanders. And the media covered it like it was, oh, it's so crazy. Joe Biden, the underdog, like coming out of nowhere. It's like this motherfucker did not even campaign. Like he didn't have a campaign office in like half the places in Super Tuesday that he won. So I know what it's like to get owned by a fucking corpse.
They call it Biden magic, and they list a number of ways that Joe Biden magically outperformed election norms. They include 80 million votes, including a record black and Hispanic turnout for you, President Trump, winning despite losing most bellwether counties. Typically, when you win the bellwether counties like you did, the president wins. Biden trailed Clinton, except in a select...
I guess the entire state of Arizona and also Georgia are not considered a part of this equation. Okay, well, you lose Maricopa County, you lose Arizona. Sorry. You drive voter turnout in what is it, Fulton County, you have a better shot at finally turning Georgia blue or turning Georgia blue. That hasn't happened in so many years. This analysis is almost as dumb as those like fucking weirdo leftists on the timeline that say psychopathic nonsense. People that I have so much respect for their careers, coming out and spewing some of the most idiotic shit like the Republican Party is the party of the working class. Like, you know, the roles are changing. It's like the Democratic Party is the party of the professional managerial class, but the Republicans are actually working. I was like, what the fuck are you saying? Please look at historic data where Republicans have majorities, 100,000 plus family household income. That's where Republicans start winning majorities. Everything below that, Democrats win. So how the fuck are you going to turn around and be like, the Republican Party is the party of the working class? Like, shut the fuck up.
A poll watcher is like a sacred person in the world of politics.
No, they're not. They're random delusional psychopaths that are horny as fuck and totally agitated by your ridiculous rhetoric. They're not fucking sacred people in the realm of politics.
Our poll watchers didn't just get set back, which they did. They got thrown out of buildings in different states.
Yeah, they got thrown out of buildings. Like, yeah. But also at the same time, we won a court case where poll watchers were 12 feet away, but then they were 6 feet away. Believe me, we won that one. It's like, so they were in the building already. So they didn't get fucking kicked out of buildings. Got it.
If you take out the contested swing states electoral votes, you're back down to President Trump having 232 electoral votes and Joe Biden having 227. That is if you strip out the 6 states with the legal challenges. So
Wait, what? Dude, this is so cool. It's just so insane to be like, well, you know, if you take out states where, like, we launched frivolous lawsuits that got absolutely blown into smithereens, but we still just assume that those frivolous lawsuits that were thrown out are still considered to be legitimate, regardless of the fact that, like, Federalist Society judges and Trump appointees literally said, like, these are crazy. You can't do this. You know, let's just dream. Let's just dream for a better future where it doesn't matter. Like, the states where Donald Trump lost and Joe Biden won, like, let's just throw them out. Like, here's how you still win. If we just throw out the states where they not only recounted, but they recounted by hand, for example, like in Georgia. You just throw it out regardless.
Because we've got some notable election dates here that I want to ask you what you believe you consider to be your drop-dead date in terms of proving this case. Is it December 18th when the states finalize elector appointments, or when electors cast votes in each state? Is it the vice president receiving electoral votes? Is it the House and Senate counting electoral votes? Or is it Inauguration Day, January 20th? How do you see
He's going to be still advocating for this by January 20th. Oh, that's so good. Please.
see it?
Elderly woman was told, who longed to vote, look forward to the day of November 3rd, was told when she got in there, I'm sorry you voted. And then they give her another ballot to sign, which they don't use because she already voted. That's how brave.
Wait, what? Wait, he admitted. He admitted they gave her another vote.
Listen, they are. Many ballots with the name Trump on were thrown out. You've read that. They found ballots in a river with the name Trump on from the military. They were signed.
These are made up stories, by the way. For those of you, like, the reason why I'm not even pushing back on all of them is because they're just completely made up. There's no evidence to any of this stuff. The irony, of course, is that if it's not a close enough race, none of it matters anyway. If it's a close race, you can make the argument that a little bit of voter fraud happened by pointing to, like, some voter fraud that occurs, even though it's inconsequential largely, and say, look, it's a close race. We have to do a recount. Obviously, very clearly, voter fraud might be more widespread than we previously thought it was, despite the fact that there's no evidence for it. Only evidence throughout American history has literally been the exact opposite of it, disproving that voter fraud is a significant factor in any election, in any electoral outcome. But when it's not close, even if you make up stories, but let's say they're true, it still doesn't matter. Like, how many votes do you think they overturned by drowning them in a river? It still doesn't matter because the disparity is far too great. He's talking about 10 votes, 20 votes. Fuck it. Let's say 100 votes for Donald Trump got thrown out. That's not making up the amount of votes that you need, my guy, in none of the states, as a matter of fact.
China didn't want me in because we were beating China so badly. And now they're going to go. China actually stated, you probably heard it 2 days ago, we want to deal with the United States, but we don't like America first. And now the Democrats are saying, oh, we won't use America first.
This idea that like the TPP, for example, was anything different than like putting America first, or America first in the same way that Republicans put America first, i.e. American manufacturers and capital owners and their interests ahead of everyone else, or even like trying to undermine China's geopolitical influence, like with the regional nation states, it is so silly. America first is literally the same concept that every fucking American president has applied throughout the history of American empire. Like, you think Barack Obama was like, no, we're putting Afghanistan ahead of American values. That's why we're going to keep droning. That's why we need to increase the amount of troops and military presence in Afghanistan. You think that's why? Because he was doing America. You think he was putting Afghanistan first? No, motherfucker, he was putting America first. That's just how it is. That's always how it's been. Yeah, America first means military industrial complex first. America first also happens to mean Americans second. Like, if you consider NAFTA, or if you consider other trade deals to be a problem for the American working class, you would have a legitimate grievance there. That's putting the American workers behind. But the people that argued for NAFTA were claiming that it was America first at the time. And it was America first, American manufacturers first. So when Donald Trump recreates NAFTA, but under a different name, and then just says, well, it's going to be much better. Believe me, it's so much better now. Like, what, you think he put America first there? No, he did the exact same thing. That was NAFTA. He did the exact same fucking thing. He didn't put America first there. He didn't put the American manufacturers, or he put the American capital owners first.
And what about the ramifications of the Supreme Court agreeing with you? Are you worried about unrest and rioting should the Supreme Court agree with you?
We move past the world in which, like, we live in reality and real things happen to delusional baby world where this magically is elevated to the Supreme Court, and now we're worried about the riots that will happen if the Supreme Court that Donald Trump appointed 3 seats into will then overturn the results of a democratic election. First of all, of course there would be fucking riots, and there should be in that circumstance. Why the fuck wouldn't you fight for what is right? Like, that's insane. No other country in the history of societal development has ever stood idly by when oppressive state machinations have overturned the democratic processes. The fuck does that mean? You're really gonna turn around and cry foul after you very openly salivating at the thought of destroying American democracy, even the theory of American democracy? It's fucking bullshit.
And by the way, you asked
Is
about
there
the
a path to
machine's
victory?
dominion. Yeah, I hope so, for the good of the country. It will take a brave judge or a brave legislature.
It sounds like if you can't be heard by the Supreme Court, you lose. Do you believe you will win this?
Oh, this is the best part. This is the climax. You've been slowly tugging away the entire morning, waiting for the climax, the inevitable climax, where Maria Bartiromo finally asked the question. It sounds like if you can't bring this up to the Supreme Court and win the case in the Supreme Court, you're going to lose the election. Let's hear what he has to say. I'm going to fucking nut right now, dude.
If election fraud at the highest level anyone's ever seen, with tremendous evidence, in a presidential election, if a man gets 80 million votes, and he's not even close to that number, Maria, look, he did not beat President Obama in areas where they said he beat President Obama. In fact, the black community had very little enthusiasm for Joe Biden. You know that. You've been reporting on that. Very little.
When the media gets it wrong, you know, Donald Trump is going to lose by a gorillion votes, and like that Joe Biden's going to maybe win Texas, then the media gets it wrong. When the media on the other side, on the Fox News side, claims with very little evidence that, like, you know, Joe Biden is going to lose the black vote or some fucking psychotic nonsense they were saying, then the media got it right and the reality is wrong? How does that work?
He didn't get anywhere close to 80 million votes.
And you believe you will be able to prove this in the coming week?
You need a judge that's willing to hear a case.
You need a judge that is willing to lie for you. And unfortunately, despite the fact that you have pad the decks in your favor as hard as you can, the Republicans have left you behind, brother. Solidarity. Donald Trump is being fucked over by fake friends. The Republican Party is full of fake friends, and honestly, that's it. That's the story.
There was tremendous cheating here. Boxes were brought in. The mail-in vote is a disaster. And by the way, if Republicans allow it to happen, you'll never have another Republican elected in the history of this country at a Senate level. One thing that did happen, very interesting, we won all the state houses. We won Congress, everything. And Kevin McCarthy we're supposed to lose seats. We didn't lose one seat, and we gained many, and others were leading, and others.
Of course, those are famously non-fraudulent votes. Guys, by the way, massive voter fraud occurred, but not at any of the levels where Trump won or the Republican Party won. I'm just putting that out there just so you're not confused. In the eyes of Donald Trump and the Donald Trump universe, every single vote cast for Donald Trump is legitimate. Every single vote cast for Republicans is legitimate. Every single vote cast for Joe Biden, on the other hand, is illegitimate. And for those of you who are wondering, like, wait, how can he say this? This is so idiotic. Well, it doesn't matter. To his voters, it does not matter. They are delusional, perhaps even more delusional than, like, not even perhaps, definitely more delusional than the Hillary sycophants that consistently attributed her defeat to Donald Trump to Russia or, the Bernie Bros or any number of different nonsensical theories. You know, that's delusional, but this is like next level delusion. This is the most epic form of delusion.